baggers all front on equal, it's like only trunk two. Well, get them the slip and then we'll take a sip of the rare old Mountain Dew. My diddle-a-lum, my diddle-a-lum, my diddle-a-diddle-a-day. My diddle-a-lum, my diddle-a-diddle-a-day.
And are we ready to start? How about now? Yeah, now it's working. So, hello, my name is Dylan Rees. I'm from Swansea University and I'm here to present our paper, Stream Ribbon Seeding Strategy, on behalf of my co-authors and myself. So, what's this paper about? Basically, it's about visualizing flow simulation data. Flow simulation data is very important, as we can see with John in the last talk there. It's simulating flow over a wing, so these things are very important in terms of flow engineering. I just want to touch on some challenges in flow visualization. So we've got problems with large data sets, like again what we saw with John in the last talk there. Computationally, this is a problem, and this links to the second problem, which is computational time, and then we have irregular grids. So if we're interpolating on a irregular grid, it can be an issue. We also have some problems with perception, clutter and occlusion issues, especially in 3D flow. It's hard to see the other side of the volume, as it were. And then we have placement and seeding challenges, which is where this paper fits in. So, seeding strategies have been around for streamlines for over 20 years now. We see a few examples on the far side of the screen there. Some of them have different objectives. Some are to visualize illustrative effects, and some are for finding features within the flow. More recently then, we've had stream surface seeding. But until now, we haven't had any stream ribbon seeding, or not that we know of that. So what are stream ribbons? So stream ribbons effectively are an extension of streamlines. So they are streamlines given a width, effectively. They have the benefit of showing twisting in the flow. You can see a streamline here, and then the equivalent stream ribbon. With the streamline, it just looks like a straight flow, but the ribbon shows there's a lot of twist in the flow, which you can't see with the streamline. These are different to stream surfaces, and the stream surfaces are usually tracked between two streamlines, and the width of it can vary. And they're used more for separating a flow, whereas streamlines are better for showing local features. And they're particularly good at displaying helicity of the flow. So helicity of the flow, what is helicity? So it's the measure of how knotted or how tangled the flow is. You can think of it as the tendency of the streamline to rotate, or corkscrew motion, which you can see in the ribbon here. We have two ribbons here. The top one you can see is all twisted. So you can see it's quite a very high helicity on this stream ribbon. Whereas at the bottom we've just got a straight stream ribbon, which shows that it's in the laminar flow. Helicity is a derived scalar field derived from the velocity vectors. Although it is a scalar field, it is, however, directional. Clockwise will be positive in using the right-hand rule. Which brings us then to our stream seeding strategy. So first of all, we import the velocity field data, and then from that we can derive the helicity density field. So we want the helicity at each, or helicity density at each sample point within the field. We then rank these data sample points in order of their helicity magnitude. Remember I said that it was directional, so it's important we use the magnitude here rather than the plus or minus of it. Now we take the first, the highest magnitude, C point and see the ribbon from this point. We run a integrated ribbon forwards and backwards until we reach a flow domain, or we reach a synchronous source, in which case we terminate the ribbon. Then we take the next sample point in the rack, and if this is more than a prescribed distance away from the original ribbon, we are able to, this is a suitable candidate then to seed another stream ribbon, again forwards and backwards until we reach the boundary, sink or a source, or until we reach the original ribbon. And then we carry on this until we use all the seeding points within the order. There are a few user options to go along with this algorithm then. The first we have here is the ribbon separation distance, which I mentioned in the algorithm there. So we have this as a user option so they can control what the picture looks like effectively. So we have two extremes here. We have a very small ribbon distance, and we see a very cluttered image, and we've got some issues with occlusion here. And then we can compare that with the image at the top here nearest me, which is a very sparse representation, so we lose the detail of the flow, but we have a lot less clutter and less occlusion. We also have an option with the minimal ribbon length. We can see on the image we have here that there's a lot of small ribbons in the image that don't really contribute to seeing any detail within the flow. So these are effectively useless. They're just like confetti in the screen, really. So we introduced this minimum ribbon length, which the user can tune then to remove these ribbons. And finally then we have a ribbon width user parameter. You see the two extremes at the bottom here again. So we have a wide ribbon, which shows the helicity, the twisting of the ribbon a bit better. But again, it causes clutter and occlusion. You can see then the image nearest me here is a lot less occlusion, but the twisting of the ribbons isn't so easy to see. We also propose a filtering option with our strategy. And this is to basically remove the last seeded ribbon first, so to remove the ribbon seeded from the point with the lowest helicity density magnitude. We found this to be fairly effective in that it removes the more laminar sections of the flow. So we tend to be left with vortices, which is what flow scientists believe are most interested in. This is where all the interesting features are. Now we'd like to move on and show you some demonstrations of our algorithm. So here we have a tornado simulation, and we're comparing the difference with wide ribbons width, which I mentioned earlier. So here we have wide ribbons, quite a lot of occlusion. You can see the filtering here. We're filtering away from the outside and leaving the vortex core. But still we have some occlusion and clutter in the image. So we compare this then with the narrower ribbons. We can see the lot less occlusion, a lot less clutter, but the twisting of the ribbons isn't quite so obvious. You can see the filtering again here, again removing the ribbons from the outside of the flow. And then I think we move on to an ABC flow. So again, here we're comparing the ribbon separation distance with everything else being the same. So here we have a very small ribbon separation distance. Again, we have a very cluttered image, but there's a lot of detail there. You see the filtering again, leaving 3 vortex cores, which is quite effective. You can see the details then within these cores as well. So we have a large ribbon separation distance here, then we have a lot less clutter, less occlusion, but we lose details within the flow, so we can't necessarily comprehend the whole flow as well. And again, you can see the filtering. Incidentally, the colour on these ribbons is mapped to the helicity magnitude at that particular point on the ribbon. And then finally we have a Rayleigh-Bernard convection flow. So here we're comparing the minimum ribbon distance user option, which I said. Here we can see we have over 500 ribbons. We can see a lot of these small ribbons that look like confetti, which don't really contribute to seeing any features within the flow. We see them being filtered away here, lots of them moving away. Filtered down to 6 ribbons here. We've lost most of the smaller ribbons, which don't really contribute. And we can contrast this then with a large minimum ribbon distance. We can see we have a lot less of these small, well, no smaller ribbons really, which reduces the clutter and occlusion problems. You can see here we only have 11 ribbons, which represents the whole flow. And I think that's it. And then we'd like to move on. We had some domain experts feedback from the specialists in flow visualization, and they said that they appreciated that they could see the holisticity within the flow, and liked the exploration enabled by the strategy that we proposed. And they also particularly liked the examples that we showed them. And then I'd like us to move on to our future work. So we would like to continue by producing a stream ribbon similarity index. So something similar already exists for stream lines, where the aim is to remove lines effectively which just repeat the same data. So we want to display the image or the flow in the least minimal number of lines, or in this case ribbons. We'd also like to then investigate the effect of different lateral orientations of the C point of the ribbon. At the moment, we just orientate next to the major grid axis, and we would like to kind of experiment with this to see what difference this makes. We'd also like to extend it then for time-dependent flows. This is all for static flows. And that concludes my talk, and I'd just like to thank you for your attention. Ask if there are any questions.
Thank you, Dylan, for your interesting presentation. We have a few minutes for questions, so please pick the microphone, yes? Oh, thank you. It seems you really focus on local helices.
Yeah.
But a tornado basically is a big phenomenon with
Yeah.
a helix. Would it also be possible to detect this more global helical flow?
We haven't actually tried it, but it's the same principle applies as I think. It's just a strategy for seeding ribbons. So yeah, I think it would apply. We can obviously the computational time would be a lot bigger with a larger data set, but I believe the strategy would work with any size of flow really.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask myself, how sensitive is the technique to picking the right lines? I guess that in particular the vortex cores, they would use the, what should I say, nicest publicity pictures. So
We're not too sure, to be honest. It just seems to produce the images it produces. It uses the helicity of the flow field to seed the ribbons, yeah, so it tends to show the most adequate features we find.
yeah, that's clear, but I expected that along the vortex core you may have a rather straight line compared to the lines nearby. And so you have nearby the vortex core, you should expect a mixing effect of the actual motion and the helicity, no?
Yeah. Well, we're not too sure, to be honest. We've only had the three flows.
Okay, so with that, I think we thank our speaker Dylan again. That brings us forward to the third presentation, which is Guoning and Dylan.